they know that there's no pressure from, obviously, administration, the board, you know, like,
I think we've been
it's
trying
not their fault.
to have, and we will share that with them, so thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Like, we will share that with them, but we have been trying to put the supports in where we can and keep it urgent but low level so that they're not overwhelmed with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Dr. Barrington or Mr. Powell on that? Thank you all very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
For my individuals.
And if you guys don't mind, unless you have questions for Mr. Powell, I told him he didn't have to stay for the policy part.
As long
as
you guys are okay with that.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it. Okay, policies. We're going to start with policy 205, which is postgraduate students. And honestly, this policy doesn't change at all. It is just in the PSBA format. So our current policy has the purpose and the exact same thing is written, but it's listed as authority under the PSBA. It is the exact same policy. Were there any questions on that? The next policy, assignment within the district. This was also the exact same policy. The only thing that I want to draw your attention to is under the paragraph where it says the superintendent or designee shall assign incoming transfer students. So at the bottom of the first page, if you flip that over, the first paragraph on the back side of the page, there is a new statement that we added that PSBA didn't have because of some inconsistencies of requests within the district. So the recommendation is, and this is for the board to consider, that there is no guarantee that a request for the assignment of a student to a specific room or staff member will be honored. Our current policy says that no requests are accepted. But as we were working through this policy, we know that in practice that is not always necessarily the case. So we wanted to make the policy reflect the practices that are happening within the district. So that would be something for you guys to consider, that we would add that statement in there that says a parent can make a request, but there's no guarantee that that request is going to be honored.
It's a little softer.
It's softer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that was updated, and on it, that is really the only change to that policy, is that we would put that softer wording in there that allows the principal to at least consider honoring a request. Any questions on that policy? Okay. Policy 207 is the confidential communication of students. This is also the same policy as we currently have. The only change here is where it says in qualifying circumstances, the current Littlestown policy only had the building principal. This policy update would expand it to include the superintendent or designated administrator that the confidential information can be shared with. Okay. Any questions on?
So that was just so there's more fluent communication within the whole administration.
So if a teacher needed to share something and maybe the building principal's not available, or even thinking chain of command, if they needed to come to me or to Dr. Mitzel, we would be covered under the policy by expanding who they could share that information with. And it really just protects the confidentiality. Any questions on that? Policy, excuse me, 208, withdrawal from school. There were 0 changes to. It is just an update in PSBA format, PSBA language, but there were no changes. I mean, there wasn't even really any language changes in that one. Sometimes I feel bad because I'm not really bringing new policies that need change. They're just now in PSBA format with some PSBA language. So if you get tired of hearing me say that this year, I
No,
apologize.
don't feel bad, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Policy 807 is opening exercises. Now, the change in that is that a new law was passed in Pennsylvania in June of 2024 that states that we have to have a moment of silence on September 11th. So that is now included in this policy. Something that you can take a look at as far as board decision, where the board may direct professional employees to conduct a brief period of silence, or the board shall direct the professional employees to conduct a brief moment of silence. Currently, our policy says may, so that's how I kept it in the PSBA language. And Nick and I talked about that. Currently, they do a moment of silence. I know at the high school, and I believe middle school. I'm not sure about elementary.
Now, is there like, if school's like on a weekend, September 11th on a weekend, that wouldn't be observed, this is only if it's on a weekday.
It would only be if it's on a weekday, but I can
Yeah,
tell
session.
you our practice has been to honor it either that Friday or Monday then.
That's what I thought,
Yeah, we always honor it. We always read a
Yeah,
statement
I
over the
understand.
announcement. When I was at the high school, I personally read it instead of having a student
Mhm.
read it, and then did the moment of silence after the statement
Yeah,
to separate it out from the pledge.
okay, that's good.
Any questions on that policy? Policy 810, now there is some change to this, and I want to explain why. In current Littlestown policy, I don't know why we did this, I don't have the history on it, so forgive me for that. But in our current policy, it goes into employee information about, making sure that they're responsible for the kids on the bus, that they are, they have all their clearances, that they haven't been convicted of crimes and stuff. That doesn't really belong in this policy, because that's already covered in the 300s in our employee policy. I'm not sure why it was included in
This
the,
is PSBA.
PSBA pulls that language out. Like, we would not be talking about employee clearances or anything. So
Since it's already covered in another place.
it's covered in other policy. But that's something that the board would have to, give direction on. If you want to keep it in there, we would put it back, we would include it in the PSBA policy, but it has some redundancy, or it is redundant, because when you're talking about employees and how they're, I don't want to say held accountable, but the policies that are beholden to them are in the 300s. So it really doesn't belong in this policy.
It's about, and the policy's about transportation.
It's about transportation. It's not about the employees' clearances and stuff. That is covered in
So you
300s.
just strike it out, or you just remove it?
My recommendation is to consider removing it. So,
Yeah.
but that's a committee decision. I do want to draw your attention to the back part of page 1. There are 2 new areas, and this is also under law, just that we have to provide transportation to students in foster care and students who are experiencing homelessness. So we do have to provide transportation for those. So there are 2 statements that are in there. So those are the changes for the transportation. Questions on that? The next one is policy 815. And there are some changes in here. And again, this is no finger pointing or anything of that nature. There's just some differences in here where in our policy, for example, when you take a look at Littlestown's policy, we have electronic device as one of our definitions, and then the definition is like this long, because they try to list anything conceivable that they could think of that would be an electronic device. If you look at PSBA's policy, the definition is like, it's very concise, but it still covers everything it needs to. So that's the big difference in this policy, is just the conciseness of their definitions versus LASD's definitions. If you go to, under authority, there are 7 areas. We selected all 7, and then we also added number 8, which they left blank, that we could add something. So the recommendation to this committee to consider is including depictions or descriptions of school violence as part of an acceptable use for this policy. So you would have to let me know if you want that to be included.
Yes.
For obvious reasons.
Yes. If anybody, a question that you may be asking yourselves, or when you go through this a couple more times, under delegation of responsibilities, we do not have it checked for tracking systems. While we can locate, like through some of our IP stuff, we don't technically, in the truest sense, track our devices. So that cannot be checked. Okay. And then under district website, which is under security, copyright, district website, we selected shall, the district shall, and then it goes on to establish and maintain a website, and shall develop and modify. So we chose shall instead of may for that. But that is really a committee decision. Shall?
I think shall, yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
It's just, it's a good way of saying it, but it's not so directive.
Well, shall is more
Shall is
direct.
required.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Shall is required.
But I got what you're saying. Accessibility on the very, toward the very end of the policy, now that section is new, and that is really some ADA compliance that we need to follow as far as how to make the website more accessible. Questions on 8:15? Okay, so we will make sure we add the number 8 that you guys talked about, description and depictions of school violence. The mays and shalls where we talked about.
Removing that section.
And
that's
removing
covered
the
under
employee
employees.
section.
Right.
That's okay.
Okay.
So is everyone okay with moving everything forward with the changes and recommendations as well?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, and under new business, Dr. Vinsel, we get you as a feature tonight.
You get me tonight, that's right. So bringing to the committee, I'd like to bring to the committee 2 options for our calendar for the upcoming school year 25-26. And this is a little bit of a challenging calendar that we want to be able to take a look at, as 25-26 will conclude our construction phase of the middle school, high school. So you'll see option A is a traditional schedule. The traditional schedule typically starts right around that 3rd week in August. It begins with in-service days to be able to prepare, kick off the school year, provide direction for the staff and students. The very first day is the 21st. One of the things that had been very helpful for me when I sat in Dr. Berryman's office was a strategic layout of Act 80 days that would provide training and development for our teachers, where they were evenly spaced so that we could train at the beginning, have another in-service day in October where we could learn, understand what we did at the beginning of the year and plan moving ahead, and have periodic checks. What this calendar does for us overall is it provides for us breaks during the school year. It meets our hours that we need to provide for our students' instruction that are required by state law. And it also provides graduation in May, a few days after Memorial Day, but it also allows for an Act 80 day at the end of the school year to allow our teachers to really, truly close out the year without the stress of getting kids together, finishing in any kind of assessment or work that they have to do with students. And it also allows us to really, truly provide to our retirees a send-off, well wishes. Our current practice has been for the past, oh my goodness, 20, 30 years when I was here previously. We would invite our retirees back to the beginning of the school year. Retirees, I think I've seen one in the number of years that I was here that came back. Typically, retirees do not want to come back on that first day. So having that end of the year would allow us to close out the school year, honor our retirees at the end of the school year, and wrap everything up. And this is something that some teachers had shared with me that they found attractive and appealing to them. So really, that's our traditional schedule. And again, it provides us with 175.5 days for our students, 186 days that are contracted for our teachers. So it fulfills all of the boxes that we must meet for our students and our teachers. Questions about option A?
I have some, yes.
Okay.
So, couple things. I don't like us starting on Thursday. I'd like us to look at starting on Tuesday and Wednesday. It's still like a kind of a soft, like not a full-blown, full 5 days. I also would like to see us bring back the Monday after rifle season starts. I know that it now starts on Saturday, but we were the only district in the area, York and Adams County, who were in session that day. Something else I would like to see in this calendar is traditional snow days brought back. I would like to see at least one with FID days after, like first day everyone, there's no teaching, there's nothing. I really would like to see 2. I don't know where we can compromise on that, if that would be an option. And some things I had thought about would be if we started, so in thinking through this, if we would start school August 19th instead of the 21st, that would still give us in school session like 2 days, which means we could pull 2 days for actual snow days where students aren't having to do anything online. And the reason a lot of parents, you know, just seeing on social media just are a little frustrated. It is a hot topic, and you can't please everybody. I understand that. That's why I'm saying, like, maybe we can just at least do one. That if we added more time maybe to the Easter break, I'm trying to figure out how this would all work, but the Easter break is April 3rd and 6th. So we would have Friday, Monday. If we would take those 2 days from the 19th and 20th of August when we start for snow days, add those in for Tuesday the 2nd or Thursday the 2nd and Tuesday the 7th, then we would pull those as a makeup day. And if not, then the students got extra spring break time with their families and they could travel. I know when our older boys were younger, you had almost a full week. Again, trying to meet all the requirements, but still, parents I saw, like, you know, they're having to go to work as well on a snow day. They weren't off like our students were, or like the teachers were. And so then they would drop them off at the grandparents' house. And then the grandparents may not be quite as efficient or up to date, you know, with all the computer stuff. And then changes were made, and then them having to be at work and having to call the teacher or calling the grandparent and say, hey, this is a change, to have them do this instead. And, you know, when I grew up, and you grew up around the same, we had big snows. Like, we had like 2 feet of snow, you know, and we're not really getting those anymore, it seems. But just at least have one. Kids, go outside, play, have fun. Don't worry about it. Teachers too. Don't worry about any stresses about that. You know what? If we have that snow day, then April 2nd, we're going to be at school that day. that's something that I would really like to see. And again, knowing that we're hearing the parents, we're listening to you. I mean, being a parent, I don't hate FID days. They're not my favorite, but they're okay, you know. But like we had our middle schooler today, yesterday, he was doing school till 1 o'clock, you know, he couldn't go outside and play. The younger ones were on school a little, you know, done earlier, but can we try to compromise somewhere and at least do one traditional snow day? I would like to see 2 if we can, but at least one. I would like to really, I mean, again, I don't know how this all works with the hours. I know we're in neighboring districts like New Oxford, they're doing completely traditional snow days. But again, building them in so we don't have to go any longer in the year. I do like that we're getting out, again, it's not June. I like that we're getting out in May. We're not getting out in June. Some schools, they start later than what we do, and they're still out getting out the same time we are. They don't have as many days built in. Like we have 2 days off for the students in February and March. Now again, I think that February 16th is President's Day. January 19th is Martin Luther King Day. So obviously I want to keep those. But if there's some way we can even work around maybe the 13th of February, maybe even the 13th of March, so we can kind of make this doable and we can say, parents, we hear you, we're trying to work with you.
So, Mrs. Ressler, thank you for sharing those thoughts. Those are really great thoughts. And if the committee wishes me to be able to put some of those things in, I could certainly take this and prioritize those areas that you're looking at. So one of the priorities that I heard was the Monday after Thanksgiving. If that's something that the board wishes to be able to move forward with, you just direct me to let me know, and I can make sure that that happens in the calendar. The second part of that, snow days, I can certainly take a look. I have communicated with neighboring district superintendents to find out, you know, how are you doing this? Because one obstacle and complexity to this is our current teacher's contract that goes through 2029 requires or has us paying teachers for 186 days.
Yeah.
And any day that I might cancel school for students and staff, then the teachers are getting a free day.
Right.
And if that's acceptable to the board, that's okay.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we could start earlier, just those 2 days, then that would be built in. And then if we don't need them, then we're
Their
off.
days off.
Yeah. So if that would be an option, because it's not like, I just think starting on a Thursday just seems kind of silly. At least start on a Wednesday like we normally do,
It is a
or back it
terrible
up to
day.
Tuesday.
So,
What's
so,
that?
Thursday is a terrible day to start.
So if I
Needs
hear-
to be midweek or Monday.
midweek or Monday.
I do like that it's kind of a soft start for especially the kindergartners
I like
and some
soft
first
start.
graders. I kind of like that.
Even
So
high
I don't want to
schoolers
start with
need a
Monday.
soft
Sorry,
start.
Mary. I don't want to start at a full week.
I didn't
Boom, we're
really want
in.
to start Monday, but it was an option.
As a,
Can I
as a
just ask a
teacher,
clarifying question?
Yeah.
So when you're saying about putting a snow day, you're talking old traditional where we also
Snow
then
makeup
have
days.
snow makeup days in.
Yeah. So that would be like if we added those 2 days to the Easter break.
Then
If-
they would be snow makeup days.
Yes.
So if we were off yesterday
Yes.
for our first
Yeah.
snow day,
Yes.
everybody's off, but then they're coming to school.
On April the
April
2nd.
2nd.
Yes. And then today, they'd be coming to school April the 7th. Or if we could take a day, like that February 13th day, taking that day and making that a snow makeup day instead. But again, I don't know the requirements that we need with the teachers and their planning. Or if we could even maybe do like an Act 80 day. So if for some reason the teachers, and I know again, transportation would only be a half day, but at least the teachers would still get some of that time in the afternoon if the students could come in the morning. It wouldn't be a full day, but at least not making them have to add any extra time onto their schedule as well. I'm kind of trying to make it all, I'm trying to make everybody happy. And again, I would want to talk to the Littlestown Education Association as well, get their input, their thoughts on this as well. But yes, traditional school days, hey, it's a snow day, enjoy the day. No one has any responsibilities except for to shovel your driveway or your sidewalks.
so I hear, this is what I hear.
Now this is me, I don't know what anybody else feels.
And this is a question out to everyone on the committee. Monday after Thanksgiving. Try to look at that as a priority to have
Yes.
the day off.
Yes. No.
The suits on over here.
I say, we can only
There's
use
probably
one.
some mums in the audience too.
The second part of that I heard was have at least one snow day or have a return of snow days, meaning that we would then have days that would be scheduled off, but would be listed as snow makeup days.
Yes, yes.
Is there, I know there were a whole bunch of scenarios and suggestions.
Mhm.
Is there any other priority for this calendar?
I really would like to see us start on August 20th, if we can. Just one-
Midweek.
Midweek. I mean, if we don't wanna do Tuesday, that's fine, but I would like to see us start on Wednesday.
And trying to work with other events that are going on causes us to really limit it to that week, so figure
Okay.
those things out. So, okay, so midweek, we have Monday after Thanksgiving, we have at least one snow day with makeup days listed later, correct?
Yes.
Anything else?
Can we say no flex days?
But then we have to make those up. I mean, then we have to
We
make on
could, I would
those.
remind, now, some of us had worked through the blizzard of '96, blizzard of '93, and when those
I went to
blizzards,
school in 6 foot of snow.
when those days happen, and
With no
even,
shoes.
even recently, more recently, I know we've had some snows, when we have, or if we have a return of a snow event that lasts a full week, when we run out of snow days, then we tack that on to the end of the year, and
Yeah.
that causes complexities with graduation.
I know.
and things.
But could we do that, like if we, I mean, it's been unusual. When's the last time we've had, probably, what, 96?
Yeah.
That we've had since
So
we've
we
been on
may be
school
due
for
very
a
soon.
But could we somehow add those days in to the calendar?
I can certainly
possibility.
take, I think, what your priorities are,
At
take
least-
a look at the calendar, and come back with options that will
Yeah.
include those,
Yeah.
those requests.
Can we see maybe 2 snow days built in? Can we, maybe just do 2?
Does anybody else want to weigh in? So, let's debate the snow days, because I know we see it on Facebook, people complaining about the fit days, they want a traditional snow day. I feel like we're gonna get just as many complaints when we have to make up a day. I think that people are gonna be in an uproar.
If I may, Nick, a few years back, Mr. Bigger did put surveys out regularly to community and staff, and the wait between a snow day and a fit day was about 50-50. So it was, we want snow days, yes, 50%, we want fit days, so that we don't have to make them up, yes. So I think really it's 50-50.
But if we're not tacking it on to the end of the year and already have it built in, maybe that'd be a little better for parents to swallow. I
But
don't
I
know.
saw on social media, some parents said, it's a joke, I don't even make my kid do it. So,
Well, and looking at it from the point of, I was a student not too long ago.
Yeah.
I would rather do the 4-hour fit day from home, that's not as taxing in terms of the workload that teachers are gonna get, than go to school later for a full day.
And I could see that more for independent, like 6th grade, like, I know I say it's 6th grade, but like, middle school, high school, okay, that's fine. But the elementary students, sometimes maybe can we just, I don't know, maybe just do a packet or something, I don't know, to make it easier on like babysitters, grandparents. I don't know what the right answer is, but
Right.
I'd like to see at least one traditional snow day, if we could just do that. I would compromise on.
2 preferably would go for 1.
But do you wanna have to make the one up?
No, I want it
No,
built in.
we said we can steal another day from somewhere else.
So I guess I'd be making it up.
Yeah.
It would be built in.
What I'm
But if you're
hearing you
talking with
say-
other districts, like I know
Easter
Gettysburg,
Bunny would just be one.
yesterday and today, they're off, no schoolwork at all whatsoever, no makeup whatsoever, and they're not changing any time with adding on, getting out, anything
Yeah.
here. And again, I don't know for sure how they did that, but if we could kind
I
of
did-
copy that.
I did ask.
Yeah.
I did reach out to the superintendent of Gettysburg and
So
ask.
how did they do that then?
They provide a day of planning and prep for their teachers, and they count it as a day. And
So basically, they work from home.
so basically, teachers work.
Okay, I'd be fine with that. Would teachers be okay with that?
If you're asking me, I think teachers would probably love to have
They
just a
jump
day
through the
to
roof.
Okay then, let's
sit
do
at
that.
home and work through that.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm okay with that.
Are they still
Well,
meeting the
it's-
student hours though?
It's
That's it.
almost essentially a day